Straight ahead on KVUE News Midday, more Uvalde fallout. A former DPS trooper being investigated over the response to the Robb Elementary School massacre is now an officer for the Uvalde School District, leaving many parents outraged. Public safety alert. Austin police issuing a warning after a string of robberies in North Austin. They think one person is behind all the crimes. And ACL preparations, what you need to know and do to have a safe and fun time at the Austin City Limits Music Festival this weekend. Good morning, everybody, and thanks so much for joining us on this Thursday morning for KVUE News Midday. I'm Jenny Lee. It's 11 o'clock, so let's take a live look outside. Okay, this is what it looks like right now over downtown Austin. Blue skies and white clouds once again, Shane Hinton. Nothing new, just set it on repeat, although I'm sure everyone's interested with ACL coming up tomorrow, what the weather is going to be like.
That's right, Jenny. So did you notice when you woke up this morning, it did feel just a smidge warmer?
Did it?
Did it? It didn't? Okay, good.
I couldn't tell.
Look,
I'm not as sensitive
complain.
as you. I just thought it was just another beautiful, cool, crisp morning.
Not calling me.
Did you just walk off this screen?
Not calling me sensitive, Jenny. Not on this midday.
I'm not as sensitive weather-wise as you are, so I couldn't feel the difference.
Maybe it's, you know what, just take me full. Leave Jenny.
Don't
Leave
take
Jenny.
things out of context,
Thank you. No, everyone heard the context, Jenny. You know, I've been looking at the numbers all morning. I've been noticing those dew point values on the incline, but it still visibly looks the same and beautiful across Central Texas. Beautiful blue skies out in Round Rock at our Kalahari Resorts and Conventions web camera. As you take a look at the temperatures currently on the thermometer, you'll see they range anywhere from the mid 70s to now the lower 80s for the most part in the hill country. We're talking lower 80s now along the I-35 corridor. Austin, we just jumped about 7 degrees in the past hour. It was just 76 a few moments ago. And we're talking upper 70s to lower 80s as you make your way to the coastal plains. Those dew points a little bit more elevated. Recall the past several days, they've been in the 40s and lower 50s. Now they're climbing into the upper 50s to lower 60s. So it does feel a bit more humid, although overall it's still comfortable. We are tracking an ozone action day for today, so negative impacts to your air quality. If you do have any sensitive or chronic lung conditions, just make sure you limit your time outdoors. Many people probably want to go dine out this evening or maybe for lunch, Jenny. So I have your menu forecast right here. 4 stars. I'll give it for both. We're talking mid to upper 80s for both dining periods tonight. Jenny, I'll have a full look at your ACL forecast all in just a couple of minutes.
All right, Shane, thank you so much. A former DPS trooper who resigned while under investigation for the Robb Elementary School shooting is now an officer for Uvalde CISD. CNN broke the story late last night and ABC News has since confirmed it. It's left parents of Robb Elementary victims infuriated. Officer Crimson Elizondo was the first to enter the school hallway after the shooter entered the 4th grade classroom back in May. The investigation shows she didn't bring her rifle or vest into the school that day. She is one of the 5 DPS officers still under investigation. Now, she's also listed as the 2nd officer on the Uvalde CISD police website. Adding to the anger, there is a portion of the body camera video where Elizondo is asked if her son was at the school. Here's her response.
No, if my son had been in there, no, I would not have been outside, I promise you that.
The parents of victims are venting their frustration on Twitter. Kimberly Garcia, the mother of Anne-Marie Jo Garza, said, "It wasn't your baby, right? That's why you didn't go in, Officer Elizondo. She was there within minutes, but her child wasn't in there, so it didn't matter. My child was in there. My child was scared. She was in danger. Those babies and 2 teachers were in there," end quote. Now, Gloria Casares, the mother of Jackie Casares, said, quote, "What mother would leave another mother's babies in those rooms to die? This is proof that Uvalde CISD does not care about our children," end quote. DPS has declined to comment, and Uvalde CISD has not responded to requests for comment. Well, happening right now, let's take a live look at the UT Tower. This is over at the 40 acres where just a couple of minutes ago, students walked out of their classrooms to advocate for reproductive justice. It's part of the National Day of Student Action, where more than 50 colleges and universities across 30 states are asking administrators to protect reproductive rights on campus. Now, UT's Coalition for Reproductive Justice and Rights has a list of demands. They include mandatory sex education courses, better financial support for student parents, time off to recover from abortions, expanded resources for gender-affirming care, and free contraceptives on campus, including Plan B vending machines. They've created a petition online for other students to show their support. All right, a lot of people are driving and flying into town for one of the biggest weekends of the year here in Austin. Austin City Limits Music Festival begins tomorrow. Now let's break down the top 3 things you need to know for this year's ACL Fest. ACL is going cashless this year. All you'll need is a wristband, which will contain your festival ticket, contact information, and wallet information. All attendees have to do is link their card to their wristband, and they're good to go to buy food, drinks, and all the merchandise with just the tap of their wrist. Also, there will be 3 entrances into ACL from the north, east, and west sides of Zilker Park. The north side is a Lady Bird entrance, which you can get to by going across the pedestrian bridge under Mopac. From the east or west entrance, you'll use the Barton Springs Road. And lastly, keep a close eye on your belongings. Cell phones, car keys, and wallets are reported lost or stolen every year at ACL. Police recommend keeping those items secure in a front-facing bag or fanny pack. Remember, bags longer than 5 inches have to be clear plastic. Gates open tomorrow at noon, and they close at 10 p.m. And Saturday and Sundays, it's from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Now, KVUE has created an ACL Festival Guide. To get it, just text the letters ACL to 512-459-9442. And remember to text because calling will not work. Still to come, a string of robberies has Austin police on high alert. Now they're asking the community in one Austin area for help. 11:09 is your time on this Thursday, and you're watching KVUE News Midday. Austin police are looking for someone who they say is responsible for 9 robberies, all in the same area in North Austin. All the crimes happened between September 19th and yesterday in areas around this highlighted stretch of West Rumberg Lane, just north of Research Boulevard. Now, police say the suspect has carried a machete, a gun, and a bat during these robberies. Some of the victims had to go to the hospital. Police are urging people to be vigilant. If you see someone with a machete, call 911, tell dispatch about the weapon, and reference this robbery spree so patrol officers can respond quickly. Police have not released any photos or videos of the suspect, but if you do have surveillance video of suspicious activity in that area, call Austin Police immediately. There are growing concerns over whether gas prices will start rising once again. The OPEC Plus alliance announced it's cutting oil production, a move that could deal another blow to the global economy. ABC's Wynn explains how this drop in production may influence holiday travel.
New concerns that gas prices could soon spike again nationwide after OPEC Plus announced it's slashing oil production by 2 million barrels a day to drive up oil prices. The group of oil-producing nations led by Russia and Saudi Arabia planning the move for November, just in time for America's midterm elections.
It will affect, in the end, all of us by somewhere in the ballpark of 10 to 30 cents a gallon.
It's bad timing for Democrats in Congress and the White House, where officials say it's a clear sign OPEC is siding with Russia amid the war in Ukraine, harming the interests of the U.S. and European nations dependent on Russian oil. President Biden now considering releasing at least 10 million barrels from the nation's strategic oil reserves next month, though it's unclear how much that might help.
Disappointment, and we're looking at what alternatives we may have.
Gas prices have already been creeping up, the national average at $3.87, a 4-cent increase overnight. In California, the average is at $6.42, one gas station topping $8 a gallon.
It's crazy.
The reason? Maintenance at refineries causing a supply shortage, as well as an increase in demand for fuel. OPEC's cuts in production also expected to drive up heating and holiday travel costs.
And it just feels like you're just caught under a wave that's bigger than you have any control over.
Meanwhile, amid a Wall Street Journal report claiming the U.S. is preparing to scale down sanctions against Venezuela's authoritarian government in order to boost oil production, a National Security Council spokesperson telling ABC News there are no plans to change our sanctions policy without constructive steps from the Maduro regime.
In a controversial trip to Saudi Arabia last year, President Biden lobbied the Saudis to boost oil production, though he claimed today that wasn't the point of the visit. OPEC's latest move shows how little influence the administration has over the Saudi regime. M. Nguyen, ABC News, Washington.
The University of Texas prepares for their Red River rivalry send-off in a tradition that has been around for more than 100 years. Stay with us. Welcome back to KVUE News, everybody. I'm Jenny Lee. The UT Tower is getting its biggest upgrade yet. The University of Texas says they're investing $26 million to revamp it. Now, the money is for extensive landscaping and beautification efforts to the mall, the main mall, and other campus grounds. We'll learn more about the restoration plans during the Longhorn game against TCU. That's scheduled for November 12th. Later today, expect a lot of music and cheers filling the UT campus. The school is sending off the Longhorns football team to Dallas with a parade for this weekend's game against OU. It's part of a tradition that has been around since 1916. Now, just a heads up, the parade will have some streets blocked off, so you may want to find an alternate route if you plan to use the drag Guadalupe Street between 25th and 21st Streets. Now, this Saturday's matchup is a tight one. Both teams currently hold a 3-2 record right now, but OU has not won any conference games just yet. Plus, they lost to TCU last weekend, 55-24. Woo. The Longhorns and the Sooners will meet on the Cotton Bowl field in Dallas for the 118th time this Saturday at 11 a.m. If you're not planning to hit the road, just watch it right here on KVUE, which is what I'm planning to do.
I'm sure you're going to be screaming at your television.
Per usual, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you'll coat your throat because you'll be at ACL.
Yeah, I'm going to be
Don't scream
helping.
too much.
Oh, no. I'm going to be running around trying to take photos of as many of the events as possible.
How fun, how fun.
Yes.
And we're supposed to have good weather for both events.
Yes, exactly. So whether you're staying here in Central Texas or if you are making the trip up to North Texas, whether that be for the game or maybe the state fair.
Yes, all in one place.
Yeah, a lot of options for folks this weekend. And
Yeah,
thankfully, Mother
fun weekend.
Nature, yeah, she's going to really cooperate with us for this weekend.
You did say it was a little bit warmer this morning. How much warmer?
So it wasn't necessarily the temperatures as much. The temperatures on the thermometer were maybe 2 or 3 degrees warmer than what we were tracking the previous
humidity,
mornings.
right?
But the humidity,
Gotcha.
that's what, it doesn't feel as crisp. It doesn't feel as fall-like. You were opening the windows earlier this week.
I still am.
Good, good. I love that. And I think you'll be able to still open them up a little bit more. If you take a look at the temperatures right now, they're still pretty pleasant. Mid to upper 70s in the hill country, lower 80s along the I-35 corridor, and then a blend of upper 70s to lower 80s as you make your way out to the coastal plains. That Doppler radar is currently quiet, unfortunately for us. We did receive a brand new drought monitor that came out just this morning. This is the first time you're seeing this, and unfortunately not good news for not only Central Texas, but the entire state of Texas. We've seen deteriorating drought conditions just because we haven't had any significant rainfall. You can see that area of extreme and exceptional drought does appear to be growing here in the KVUE viewing area. If we zoom out a little bit further, you can see that that is also extending through many other portions of Texas. The only ones really excluded out of it for the most part is portions of southern Texas. Now, our 7-day rainfall forecast doesn't call for any activity as we go through the weekend and into the first half of next week. But as we make our way into Wednesday and Thursday, forecast models are hinting at the possibility of some precipitation. Not going to be a drought buster, but it is hope on the horizon, right? As we take a look at your forecast highs across the area for today, we're talking upper 80s to lower 90s, a little bit warmer along the I-35 corridor. I think we could top out at around 93 degrees today, which would make it the warmest day of the week. Winds from the east about 5 to 10 miles per hour. When you have that sunshine, warm temperatures, and calm winds, it's going to be an ozone action day, which means negative impacts to your air quality index. It means it's going to be unhealthy for some today. What do you need to take away from that is if you have any chronic lung conditions, emphysema, asthma, just try and limit your time outdoors if you can. If you are sensitive to fall elm, grass, ragweed, pigweed, allergens like that, just make sure you utilize that allergy medication. We're tracking a medium for your allergy count. Overnight lows tonight. This is what I'm talking about, Jenny. They're trending higher and higher. Yesterday, we had the forecast for the lower to mid 50s for our overnight lows. Now they're in the upper 50s to lower 60s. Could only drop into the mid 60s in Austin. We dropped into 64 earlier today. Now you see cold fronts on the future cast that would normally normally excite us. However, it's a pretty weak system. In fact, the front that moves through for the weekend only knocks us down into the upper 80s at best for ACL weekend. But as I mentioned, we're staying dry not only here in Central Texas, but also in North Texas. So you're taking a look at your ACL Music Festival weekend one forecast. Partly sunny to start with partly cloudy conditions for the rest of the day. 7-day forecast shows rain returns middle of next week.
We need the rain. Good chances. All right, thank you so much. Well, step by step, one group is coming together in search for a cure. We're talking to the head of one group that has raised thousands of dollars so far for Chiari malformation 1 research. How you can get involved next. It's 23 minutes past the hour, and we're so glad you can join us for KVUE News Midday. For more than a decade, Unite the Night events have raised awareness and money for Chiari malformation 1 and other common but not so well-known brain diseases and disorders. Kathy Posnick with the Bobby Jones Chiari and Syringomyelia Foundation is here to talk more about this. Welcome, Kathy. That name always messes me up. Syringomyelia. Oof.
That's a rough one.
That's a long one.
My boys were so excited when they learned how to say it, but thank you so much for having me here.
No, absolutely. And before we get started, let's explain. Chiari malformation is a structural defect in the base of the skull and cerebellum. Normally, that part of the brain and the brain stem sits on the opening that allows the spinal cord pass through. But with Chiari, that part of the cerebellum sags into the upper spinal canal. This is a very common brain disease and disorder, but we don't know much about it. Kathy, how can we change that?
Well, the Bobby Jones Chiari and Syringomyelia Foundation is working hard to raise funds, to raise awareness, make a difference there, support groups, and of course, research is the biggie.
That is the biggie, because other diseases and disorders get a lot of research, but not Chiari.
Right, right.
And so what are some of the things we need to know? How are your sons doing? Kathy has 3 kids, but a couple of them are dealing with Chiari as well.
Right. My oldest, Calvin, he was diagnosed at 7. He's been through 23 surgeries. Oof. He has Chiari, Syringomyelia, high pressure, and he has 2 shunts, but he functions. He lives out here in Austin, and he does great. My middle son just moved out here this weekend, and he's had 1 surgery, and he was diagnosed at age 7 also. So they do well.
Yeah, absolutely.
A few underlying issues sometimes, but they're functioning and having a great time in Austin.
That is so good to hear. And full disclosure, some of you may know I was diagnosed with Chiari malformation 1 back in 2017, but I had 10 months of symptoms. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And this is why research is so important, because brain surgery doesn't fix everything.
No.
My neurosurgeon keeps saying you're going to get brain surgery when you get sick, so I'm trying not to get sick.
Right, right.
You know? So in order to raise funds and in order for people to help, what is Unite the Night?
So Unite at Night events were created about 12 years ago, and those were events like a grassroots option to bring people together that would like to create teams and fundraise. We do walks. We've held a recent 5K run. We're having, an event with raffles and that this Friday night in Austin. So it's just an umbrella to raise funds, and it all goes for research and the programs that educate.
And you may have seen Brad Stuver behind Kathy here.
Oh, Flat Brad.
But the real Brad will be at the event tomorrow. So tell us where and when and how people can.
So our event tomorrow is from 6 to 8 p.m. at Hop Squad Brewery, and we will have a lot of raffles, and we will a few people do a little bit of talking, and Brad will say a few words. He's been involved in some of our past events. He created the first Kickin' Chiari tournament back in 2017 when he was in Columbus. And he will be there signing autographs, and I can't wait to see him again because he's from my hometown.
That couple, they're so nice. They do so much for the community, the Stuvers. Kathy, thank you so much for joining us on Midday to talk more about this. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, well, officials continue to assess the damage left behind by Hurricane Ian. Coming up, how the president and Florida's governor plan to band together to help.
Time is 11:29 on your Thursday morning, and I hope your day's off to a great start so far. It certainly felt like a nice one. If you take a look at the recorded lows across Central Texas this morning, we bottomed out at 64 degrees out at Austin, 55 at the airport. Now keep in mind, starting today, our average low is 64 degrees, so it was a seasonable start if you factor it in that way. However, our overnight lows and our afternoon highs are trending in the upward direction as we close out your work week. As we take a look at your current temperatures, they're anywhere from the upper 70s to lower 80s. Area wide. Warmest spots on the board right now being Bastrop, Austin, Blanco, even Cameron sitting at 83 degrees. The most pleasant temperatures, I'll say, are out in Mason at 77 degrees. As we take a look at your next 20 hours, you will see temperatures peaking in the lower 90s. I expect us to hold on to sunny or mostly sunny conditions throughout a majority of the day. Some cloud coverage could move in as we head toward the evening and overnight. That could help to insulate our temperatures and keep them in the mid 60s, so just trending slightly above average as you make your way to Austin. As we take a look at your sunset tracker, just interesting information here. 7:10 is our sunset this evening, but notice how we leap throughout the month of October, how much that sunset gets earlier and earlier. 6:54 by October 20th, and by the end of the month, we're talking 6:48. Personally, I'm liking these earlier sunsets, but that's just because of the earlier start. Jenny's nodding in the background. She doesn't like it. Hey, we're taking a look at the tropics. Now we have potential tropical cyclone 13. This is expected to become a named system, most likely going to be called Julia. And you have tropical depression 12. Neither of these will be impacting the United States. Jenny?
All right, Shane, thank you so much. President Joe Biden and Governor Ron DeSantis put politics aside this week. They met face-to-face yesterday to help find ways to help the state move forward in Florida. So far, at least 125 deaths have been confirmed linked to Hurricane Ian, mostly in Florida, and that number is expected to rise. Here's ABC's Rena Roy.
Amid destruction and devastation, a moment of bipartisanship. President Biden and Governor Ron DeSantis joining forces to help the people of Florida move forward after Hurricane Ian.
We are cutting through the red tape, and that's from local government, state government, all the way up to the president. So we appreciate the team effort.
The president and first lady visiting hard-hit Fort Myers Wednesday, getting a first-hand look at the widespread damage.
We have one job, and only one job, and that's to make sure the people of Florida get everything that they need to fully, thoroughly recover.
Thousands still without basic essentials like food and water. This fire station in Fort Myers offering free showers.
We have no water, but we're here to take a shower. We've been going to the amenity center to get water out of the pool so we can flush our toilets.
Churches and nonprofits also doing their part.
Last 2 days we've served over 40,000 meals because we're here in Southwest Florida. We're still in a food and water crisis.
Pastor Matt Keller and his team of volunteers delivering hot meals to local hospitals, shelters, and first responders.
For us, hearing the stories of people who haven't eaten in 3 days, people who are checking into the emergency room at the hospital for starvation because they haven't eaten since the storm hit.
I'm Dave Fire Rescue.
Search and rescue teams still working around the clock on Pine Island, which now has a temporary bridge after its causeway was destroyed. This volunteer group of military veterans helping clean up.
It's a big relief because I had no idea what I was going to do with the tree.
And more help is on the way. President Biden announcing that the federal government will pay for emergency response efforts for 2 months instead of 30 days at the governor's request. Rena Roy, ABC News, Fort Myers, Florida.
Time now is 11:33, and there's a new report that shows more Americans filing for unemployment benefits last week. It's the largest number of filings we've seen in 4 months. 219,000 people across the nation put in for jobless claims last week. That's up 29,000 from the week before. But the labor market remains strong despite inflation and a slowing U.S. economy.
More projects are coming here, growing here, hiring employees here, and that leads to more business for all the different businesses around the table.
Governor Greg Abbott campaigned in Tyler earlier this week. He attended a roundtable with business leaders to talk about the strength of the Texas economy.
Every year that I've been governor, Texas has won the National Championship Award for being ranked #1 of all the states in the United States for economic development. That means more projects are coming here, growing here, hiring employees here, and that leads to more business for all the different businesses around the table.
According to Governor Abbott's campaign, his team has knocked on 3 million doors during this re-election campaign. As we approach Election Day, keep these deadlines in mind. The last day to register is coming up. That's October 11th. Register to vote. Early voting is from October 24th to November 4th, and Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th. Bumble just made vetting your potential partners by political views a little easier. The Austin-based dating app now gives users the option to disclose their voter status on their profile. Why? According to Bumble's marketing director, the politics badge is in the top 10 badges widely used among Austinites. The majority of Austinites who use political badges identify as liberal. Well, still ahead, the Texas housing market is pushing buyers into rental properties. Knowing your renter's rights can be key to resolving issues in your apartment complex. Welcome back to KVUE News Midday, everybody. It's about 22 minutes before the hour, and Boomtown is our series tracking all the rapid growth happening here in Central Texas. Airbnb's presence continues to grow here, becoming one of the biggest travel platforms to date. Now, some experts say this app could be one of the reasons why the housing market is so tight. It's called the Airbnb effect. This theory says as more hosts buy homes, the supply of housing needed for locals decrease. Some worry as more units get taken off the market, more Austinites will be displaced. But one local realtor says our problems are much bigger than Airbnb.
I think this whole talk about Airbnb is a distraction from the real issue. And the real issue is that we don't have density in Austin. You cannot build a fourplex on a quarter-acre lot. And that is something that has been a problem for a long time.
But one U.S. study did find that 1% increase to Airbnb listings leads to less than 1/4% increase in rents and house prices. Renting here in Texas is normally the next housing go-to, so it's important to know what rights you have as a tenant. Here's Jason Wheeler with an explanation.
A few weeks ago, when this was the forecast, I got a message from someone living in an apartment that was a stuffy, humid 81 degrees inside at night because the AC was not working. Yet this was the forecast they were getting from the maintenance person. So the tenant asked me about renters' rights. You've probably noticed that I'm not identifying the person in any way. That's for their protection, even though one renter's right in Texas is that the landlord cannot retaliate against you for making a maintenance complaint in good faith. Also, for your protection, you shouldn't withhold your rent if something needs fixing, because that can actually make your situation much worse. Now, if a verbal maintenance request doesn't get the job done, put it in writing and be specific, and send your request in a dated letter using registered mail or certified mail with a return receipt requested. And then save any written responses and make notes about any conversations about that request. You are expected to give your landlord a reasonable amount of time to fix things. That's usually 7 days, depending on the severity. Now, if they don't do it in time, and this is where your written records come in very handy, you may be entitled to terminate the lease, repair the problem, and deduct the cost from your rent, or get a court to order that the repairs be made. Just know that many items are not considered required repairs, like a dishwasher, for example, unless your lease says it is. Now, generally, issues that threaten your health or your safety are considered must fixes. Some people would argue that no AC with a forecast like that affects health and safety. There is actually a guidebook for tenants' rights here in Texas. It says AC sometimes qualifies, but check with your city too. It turns out that air conditioning is a mandatory maintenance item if it fails between April 1st and November 1st and no window screens are provided. That is the specific rule in Dallas, which is where the apartment tenant I started with happens to live. They say that they had been dealing with that bad AC for more than 2 months. I called their complex on their behalf recently. The tenant was also persistent, and the tenant called out the city's code compliance. And with that, voila, problem finally fixed. I'm glad they got resolution. I'm sorry it took all of that to get this taken care of. I have linked to the handbook of tenants' rights, by the way, and to some guidance from the Attorney General's office, and to some organizations that offer legal help to tenants. It's all with today's post at Jason Wheeler TV on Facebook and Twitter, where I'm maintaining your ability to stay right on the money.
Thank you, Jason. New cancer research is bringing hope to thousands of patients. Coming up, the new treatment technology in place and how many patients it could help. Welcome back, everybody. Time now is 11:45, and thanks for watching KVUE News Midday. COVID-19 boosters could prevent about 90,000 U.S. deaths this winter, but only if more people get them. That's according to a new study published by the Commonwealth Fund. Researchers found if 80% were to get a booster, it would also prevent more than 936,000 hospitalizations and $56 billion in medical costs in the next 6 months. But if boosters remain at their current pace, researchers say a potential winter surge could bring a peak of about 16,000 hospitalizations and 1,200 deaths per day by March. And just in time for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, scientists are making a couple of major breakthroughs for people with this disease. First, doctors can now eliminate tumors before surgery by harnessing the body's own immune system. They do this by adding an immunotherapy called Keytruda to chemo. It helps give patients better results before surgery. The second helps patients to skip chemo altogether. It's perfect for those like this Texas native worried about the severe side effects.
Chemo was nothing I was looking forward to. I don't have time for this cancer stuff, you know. I said, my grandson plays football. I got to get to that football game.
I love her. Because Yola's cancer was detected early, she was a candidate for a test called Oncotype DX. It used genetic analysis to predict that chemotherapy wouldn't help because of her type of cancer. Now, which data shows is the case for about 80% of all cancer patients. The health benefits of good sleep are endless, which is why hotels are starting to add rooms specifically designed for you to snooze. It's called sleep tourism. Oh, really? Hotels create rooms with sleep-enhancing amenities like soundproof walls, essential oils, sleeping masks, and books, and luxury beds that track how well you sleep. Wait, does someone read to you? You have to do that yourself.
See, you're talking about the books and the reading. I'm talking about why are soundproof walls not
a thing?
already a thing?
Yes, agree.
I don't need to hear
anything.
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 Nothing.
Not a thing, not a word, not a peep, not a sound, Jenny,
Nothing.
from the door, the room next door.
Although I have to say I've never had a problem with loud neighbors in hotel rooms.
Really?
Knock on watch the next
There's
time
no
I stay.
wood around this
I
desk.
know. Okay, here's my head.
No, you don't stay in hotels often then if you've never had
Not rowdy hotels.
Oh, well.
Which means you may stay in rowdy hotels. That's what that's telling me.
I have no word. You know, I travel. I used to travel quite a bit. You never know. You have to take whatever hotel you can get sometimes.
Sure. Absolutely. Hey, but a good night to sleep. If you're camping, what a nice night to camp, right?
Yeah, well, camping, you're
pivot with me, Shay.
Even less soundproof walls with the camping. Now, I've been next to some rowdy tents too, but we're not here to talk about that on Midday.
Quit it. Just talk about
Look,
weather.
it's 11:48, and I'm giving you a live look from our tower.
You're giving us
camera.
something, all right.
Look, I'm giving you a beautiful view right now from our tower camera. A few clouds up there. If you look to the top of your screen, a few more clouds will start to build in throughout the course of the day and the evening. 83 degrees out at Camp Mabry currently. Those dew points just shy of 60, which means we're slowly getting back to those more humid conditions. But thankfully, we have a weak cold front, which should bring some drier air for the weekend. Right now, temperatures anywhere from the upper 70s to mid 80s. We are staying dry on the radar, and it looks like it's going to unfortunately stay that way. We have a stalled frontal boundary just to the north. This was that cold front that we were tracking for you early this morning on daybreak. We're going to have another cold front that ushers in some drier air. Low pressure system is going to help to trudge in some moisture, which brings the cloud coverage as we go throughout the next few hours and into the overnight period. Temperatures peaking in the lower 90s as you make your way to Austin. Overnight and then through tomorrow, we could see partly sunny to mostly cloudy conditions to start the day with some peeps of sunshine throughout the back half of your afternoon. As we take a look at your afternoon highs, upper 80s to lower 90s, we still continue that trend of remaining above average. Something we're also continuing to monitor above average, those levels of ozone. So we do have an unhealthy for some ranking on the air quality index. It is an ozone action day as you make your way to Austin and really along the I-35 corridor and also including Bastrop and Caldwell counties. Your allergy count, weeds, specifically ragweed and pigweed, fall elm and grass, all remain in the medium category. As we take a look at your overnight lows, it's going to be slightly warmer than what we tracked this morning. We're talking upper 50s to lower 60s for the hill country, and we're talking lower to mid 60s along and east as you make your way to the coastal plains. As we take a look at your forecast for this weekend, Friday, partly sunny conditions, temperatures once again return to the lower 90s. Weak cold front moves through, but but you don't really feel the impacts in regards to those temperatures, but the air should be drier for all the days of weekend 1 for ACL. Also, if you are heading up to Dallas to cheer on them Longhorns, 74 degrees for kickoff. It's going to be very pleasant for that game. East and northeasterly winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour for that 11 a.m. kickoff. Take a look at your 6 to 10 day precip outlook. It shows that above average rainfall, I should say, is going to be possible as we make our way into the extended forecast, which is some great news, especially due to drought conditions worsening. 7-day forecast looks mainly dry until the middle of next week.
And finally this midday, Austinites are getting recognition again, but this time for swearing. Yes, City of Austin is ranked number 7 in pre-ply study of cities that swear in the most in the U.S. After surveying more than 1,500 people, researchers found Austinites swear nearly 21 times a day on average. The only other Texas cities to make this list are Dallas and Fort Worth. Dallas ranked number 4 with 25 swears a day. Fort Worth ranked number 5 with 24 swears a day. El Paso made the list of cities to swear the least. They only do it 17 times a day.
Who do you think's number 1?
Oh my goodness, I wish I would have. Hey, Lo, do you know who's number 1? I'm asking our producers who the number 1 city. We'll find out. Columbus, Ohio. That's hilarious.
Let me tell you who probably ranked up our numbers.
Well, that's all the
Austin.
time we have. Maybe someone over there. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us on Midday.